Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Greenway Forward Podcast, Episode 9. Today, I am here with Richard L. Weiss. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, yeah, for those unaware, Richard ran as a Senate candidate for the Green Party in 2022 against the highly contested Fetterman Oz race and got 0.6% of the vote, which was very happy to see that performance from you. So, what got you into the Green Party itself and ultimately ended up running for Senate in 2022?
How did I get started as a Green? I think it was the 2016 election. Uh, I had always been Democrat in the past and voted Democrat, but I really felt like Bernie's policies were the best, and he seemed to be the most popular. And I really felt like he got railroaded out. And then the party even got sued and said, well, it doesn't matter what the voters say, we can pick whoever we want. And so I just felt like I was out of the Green Party. I was out of the Democrats. And I looked at the Green Party platform and I decided I really identify most with the Green Party than the Democrats. So I was out of the Democrat Party.
Did you vote for Jill Stein in 2016?
Yes, I did.
And were you how involved were you in the Greens back then? Because that was like that tipping point, right whenever Bernie was rigged out of the primaries, is like you kind of that realization, like this is not for me or whatever, and
Uh-huh.
you kind of really solidified yourself in that platform. In that span, how much were you involved by the time the general election had come through in 2016?
Oh, I was just finding out about the Green Party, and I was fortunate that a couple of the Allegheny Greens reached out to me. I'm not even sure how we first met. It might have been on Twitter because I'm semi-active on Twitter, X now. But yeah, they invited me to some meetings, and I came, and it just went from there.
That's interesting because you're the one who originally reached out to me. I started over the previous summer having these thoughts I like the Democratic Party is just like not for I realized they're just completely aligned to me on what I believed and that the Green Party platform was truly for me. You reached out, helped me get involved in the local as we're both part of the same local Green Party and really just spiraled from there.
Anybody I meet, yeah, anybody I meet now, I'll say, why don't you get involved in the Greens?
It's a great thing to do.
Because what we really need is people. There's people who say, "Well, you got to make a great party first, and then I got to like you before I join." It's like, well, we need you to come and make the party. Yeah.
Especially during a year like this in 2024 with how unhappy people are with both the major parties and I've been saying for months now like this is the year for third parties. We're going to probably see record number of votes for the Green Party in the presidential election. I'm very confident that Jill Stein will get more votes or a bigger percentage of the votes than Ralph Nader did in 2000. But it's also going to lead to more votes for RFK Jr. and it's just going to be this election is going to be all over the place. But I am very excited to just see how it goes entirely.
Yes, if it's going to be Biden against Trump again, I think a lot of people are disillusioned. And the first inclination of most people, I think, is to stay home, and that's why we have to reach out and say, "Hey, there's third parties. Vote for the third parties."
Because a lot of people don't even know that this party exists. You walk up to someone and they might be saying, talk about whatever. If you say you're registered green, how many people are going to know what that is? Fairly decent amount of people. A lot of people, were all into Russiagate and stuff in 2016. But I feel like that third party outreach is exactly what's needed for important moments like this. I mean, this is the time to just seize the vote, seize the opportunity, and we're a grassroots party, but the best way to get that is those people outreach. The best thing that I've tried to do is starting this podcast. It's been helping people truly understand what we're about, how we got to where we were in general, and there's so
Mhm.
many great things that can just go with joining your local chapter. A lot of counties not all states have them. I know Georgia is a state that does not have an official Green Party that is affiliated with U.S. Greens.
If your county doesn't have one, you can start one. You become that county party yourself. just talk to the state party and you can start your own chapter. I think we have um, some counties join with others. Like there's not many in some other counties who might join with Allegheny or Butler. I don't recall, but you can start one if you don't have it, and then whoever's in Georgia, if they don't have a state party, you can be the state party. You can be the first one.
Yeah, it's as simple as even something as simple as you post on a Facebook page or whatever of your local town saying like, I'm giving a speech 2 o'clock Saturday at the park. It's gonna be different than what you've heard.
Hmm.
But I've always kind
Hmm.
of been interested in doing something like that is like giving just that you're giving that stump speech in the park and it's like what you're like what you're communicating with people and you might only get 2 or 3 people to join those 2 other people they start progress and reach out and eventually it takes
Hopefully, yes.
many years to do so. I mean the Green Party has only been established since 2001, correct?
There's been various versions of the Green Party in the past. I saw somebody refer to a Green Party in the 1950s or something. That's not the same one that we have today. I think the one we have today started really in the 80s, but I'm not an expert on the party history.
Yeah, because originally there was a man named James Weaver who ran in the 1800s as the a Greenback Party candidate, which there's not a whole lot of info about the Greenback Party. It seems like it's kind of what we have going on, but also not. It's a very strange. It was like a one-off party. It was like that was it. Greenback Party existed for like just that little bit in the 18. I think it was 18. It might have been the 1860 election whenever that happened,
Uh-huh.
and James Weaver ran. And then of course,
Okay. Um, well, the Green Party, all right, is related, but not strongly. There's no strong affiliation, but there's a loose, non-binding affiliation between Green parties around the world, and they agree to these similar four pillars and 10 principles. And I should have prepared um, visuals for you because when I do, sometimes I'll do a presentation. What's the Green Party? Um, So first, I would suggest looking up, the four pillars and these 10 basic principles. And we're all supposed to agree that we believe in these principles, but we don't have any formal affiliation with any foreign green parties, but just this loose agreement on the general principles.
yeah, because there are so many other more powerful Green parties in the world. UK Greens, Belgian Greens, and Australia Greens, just to name a few. Belgian Greens do have more significant power than we have here. Because the problem with this is we're just stuck in this corporate capitalist duopoly system, and there's really no easy way out of it. Unlike these other countries, which will have coalitions, might have 4 or 5 major parties, Greens being one of them, and you know, it varies much differently by country. There are some more right-wing Greens, and the Greens in the U.S. at least are very left-wing. But it really just
We
depends
hope
exactly where
to
you're at.
Yeah, we hope to grow to be like the European parties, and one of the possibilities is the ranked choice voting, where people can express that they do like the Greens, even if they choose another party above the Greens. At least we get mentioned, and more people learn about us and know that we exist. Um, I think one of the reasons there's a lot of pushback to the ranked choice voting is because it will let more people know that we exist. Right now, it's very difficult to find out about the Green Party. You were saying, a lot of times you meet people they didn't even know it existed. Uh, One of the first things that we need to do to get on the ballot in Pennsylvania for this November election is we have to collect signatures. Um, so that's something you can do, and I hope your viewers are going to do is sign up to, if nothing else, put your own signature and mail it in to the Green Party so that, but I say they should just mail one to all the Green Party members and ask them to get 5 signatures, and we would have enough
Hmm.
because there's more than 1,000 Green Party members in Pennsylvania, maybe 2,000. I forget how many now.
So what is it,
Um,
5,000 for Stein to be on the ballot in 2024?
well, I do not remember the exact number, and it might have changed since the last election, but we were trying to get um, something like 5,000, but we wanted more than enough because there's always a battle.
Hmm.
The Usually there are Democrats who challenge the signatures, and some of them get thrown out. If somebody didn't write their address clearly, it might get thrown out. If someone's address doesn't match their voter registration, it might get thrown out. Um, so yes, it is there is some technique to getting the signatures. You have to remind people this has to be the address of your voter registration. You have to be a registered voter and in any party. You don't have to be a registered Green in order to sign a petition for the Green Party candidate to get on the ballot. But so I think we may have gotten more like 7,500 or 10,000. I can't remember. But we did have more than enough, and it was largely due to the help of Howie Hawkins. He was collecting signatures in New York for his run for governor. Um, and we said we're short of signatures, and he brought some people across the border to help um, collect signatures in Pennsylvania, and that put us over the top.
That's phenomenal, yeah. I really hate what happened to Howie in 2020, and I know you were, of course, involved whenever stuff like that happened. Do you know the full story of exactly what happened? Because a lot of people know, Democrats sued Howie Hawkins off the ballot, but is there any more sort of like deeper info regarding what happened in 2020 to Howie?
Okay, when Howie was running for president in Pennsylvania, I was running for attorney general in Pennsylvania. Now, Pennsylvania law allows that you put a number on your petition, not a number, a name of the candidate on the petition. Um, and because we start collecting signatures before the Green Party primary, we don't necessarily know who the candidate's going to be. So you can put a placeholder name in there for the purpose of collecting signatures. And that's what we did. And that's what Howie did. But for some reason, it didn't work for Howie. The Democrats sued to get him kicked off. They said, oh, the name of the presidential candidate wasn't Howie Hawkins when people signed, even though the law says you can switch it later. It can be replaced. Um, and I don't think that case should have won. I think it's possible that the court was Democrat leaning themselves. Um, but it did work to get Howie off the ballot. But I was able to remain on the ballot. And when I was running for Attorney General, I got more votes than when I was running for Senate,
Mm.
U.S. Senate. I got 86,000 votes, and I used to brag I got more votes than Kanye did running for president. And the Senate race was more hotly contested between Fetterman and Oz, and because of the overturn of Roe v. Wade, everyone was afraid that if they voted third party, that it would be the end of Roe v. Wade, and they voted Democrat, and we still don't have Roe v. Wade.
Hmm.
So I'm hoping people are wising up, and like you're saying, we have again two of the most disliked candidates ever for the Democrats and Republicans, and I hope more people will come and vote third party.
Yeah, that's a big hope for me in 2024. I always used to think back when I was a Democrat, I was just like, yeah, if we vote Democrat, we're gonna get all these things that Republicans are trying to get rid of. And then you vote Democrat, and what happens? They do nothing. Republicans just keep continuing to strip away whatever they want. People's solutions to all these issues is not to vote Democrat, it's to realize that they're not going to help. They're on the side of Republicans. They're on the side of corporate capitalism. They are not the ones that are going to save us through that. You need to find true progressive left wing parties, such as the Greens, Another thing, if you live out in California, check out the Peace and Freedom Party. Check out the Party for Socialism and Liberation. That's a one that I've been impressed with. I don't believe that the socialist girls are going to get a ton of ballot access in 2024. You know, I'm voting Stein regardless, but I still think they are very powerful people, and their messaging is just phenomenal. So there's so many of these third party chapters to check out.
Mhm.
But I would recommend Peace and
Well,
Freedom,
I
PSL, and Green.
in Pennsylvania, I recommend that you do the collecting of the signatures, for the petitions to get on the ballot, and then you meet a lot of people, and you get to inform them about the Green Party, hand out some literature about the four pillars and the 10 principles, and then um, people at least know that we exist. I had a friend who her family is a strong Union family, very Democrat, and I was she 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 said her mother wouldn't go vote for Hillary Clinton, and I said, there's the Green Party, and and she said her mother just stayed home,
Uh,
and I think a lot of people do that because they're afraid of being shamed. They say, well, if you vote for the third party, then you're electing Trump or something like that, and we don't agree with that. The most people who voted for Jill Stein would not have voted at all. They would have stayed home. So it would not have helped if Jill Stein wasn't on the ballot.
and a lot of things too and two things that kind of relate to the whole, vote third party as a vote for Trump is in 2016, people seem to completely forget that Gary Johnson was even in that race. Now, I'm not a Gary Johnson fan
Mhm.
by any means, but he was in that race and he got over double the amount of votes that Jill Stein did. So if you're looking to blame somebody, it's Gary Johnson. Obviously he had no part of it, but a lot of people completely disregard Gary Johnson, completely disregard that so many registered voters completely stayed home in 2016. And you really want to look for people to point fingers at. Again, I hate using that term because that's the term that
Mhm.
we get shamed at by Democrats. But you want to really reach out to people. Reach out to people who stayed home in 2016. Don't blame the people who voted for Stein because you saw a photo of her with Putin and you think that that means she's a Russian agent or whatever. Uh, you got to look at the bigger
Yes.
picture with that.
And now we have accelerating problems with the climate. I feel like that is almost like advertising for the Green Party. We just have to let people know that we exist. Say, well, we're the ones who are for the environment, for protecting the planet, and it really is um, the best for people's pocketbook as well. A lot of people vote based on, well, we think Democrats or Republicans will take care of business better. Well, destroying the environment ruins things. It's a greater cost and makes things worse. It's not really improving anything. And we have studies now that show that renewable energy creates more jobs. It's really the fracking and the fossil fuels that is only benefiting a small number of people who are the owners and reduces jobs because there would be more if it would be switched to renewable energy. And then they destroy the environment. And when it's all used up, they cut and run and they don't even clean it up. Now we have tens of thousands, I can't remember the number, 60 or 80,000 uncapped wells in Pennsylvania that it's left up to the taxpayers to pay for cleaning it up. And then the fracking wastewater is radioactive. They use all kinds of chemicals that they don't even identify because they claim that's a trade secret. Um, people around the fracking wells are getting uh, various kinds of illnesses, cancers, and um, it's really harming people in Pennsylvania and it's harming the environment. And we could have a good environment and a good economy, in my opinion.
Absolutely, but people just think that voting Democrat is going to solve all your problems, which is another reason I joined this party is because even though we are not nowhere near as popular as the Democrats will be, we stand for the things that Democrats claim to stand for, and then some. You won't get anywhere by fundraising Roe v. Wade, and we've even seen that press statements that Biden's been putting out is that, and he and Kamala are like, we're vote for us because we believe in the women's right to choose. What's like you've done nothing but let these people strip away whatever
Mhm.
was already there. So if
There is
this isn't enough, then
already there are many opportunities to codify Roe v. Wade, and they didn't take it. So I don't believe they really want to.
because it makes money. If you're able to fundraise off the idea that vote for us and we'll protect this, is making them an insane amount of money. So if they can just lie
Hmm.
about that and get these people to be scared of the Republicans so much that they vote for them just for nothing, basically, that's so much money that's going to the pockets of the
Hmm.
DNC, and they know that, and that's why they're so they have the artificially scared Green Party. They say don't vote Green because you'll get Trump. Don't vote whatever because you'll get Trump. And we're seeing a lot of that lately, and we've been seeing that in 2016. We saw that in 2012, 2008. You can go as far back as you want. There will be people saying don't vote third party because if this candidate wins, you're screwed. And they've been saying for the past 30 years, like, oh, I know Clinton sucks, but you have to vote for him to protect us from Bush. What did Clinton do?
Hmm.
A whole lot of horrific things. So I'm sick of the don't vote third party because X candidates are going to do whatever. We've been hearing that since Perot was in office. Perot was running. It has just been
Hmm.
an insane thing to think about. And then, of course, the controversy of the 2000 election, when a lot of people blamed Ralph Nader on Al Gore's loss, when again, as you mentioned for Stein, is exit polls show that most people wouldn't have voted at all, or they would have cast their votes for another third party candidate. And you also have to consider the people in Florida. There were so many registered Democrats in Florida that voted for Bush. So if you really want to
Yes,
find
that's what
something,
I was going to say. There were more Democrats who voted for voted Republican for Bush than there were people who voted for Nader. So they really should be looking at themselves.
but they will refuse to do that because it makes a lot of money if you can fundraise off that Republican outrage.
And now the Democrats love George W. Bush.
That's the thing that doesn't
They
make any sense to me is they were hating on Bush. They're like, we hate the right wing, we hate the Republicans, and now they're all buddy buddy with George W. Bush. They're buddy buddy with
and
Benjamin Netanyahu. They're buddy buddy with all
and
these
then
right wingers that they claim to hate, but obviously not because they're a right wing party themselves, of course.
and you would think they would be thanking Ralph Nader for getting George W. Bush elected because they love him so much now.
They won't let us forget
I
about that.
say,
They won't let us forget
I,
about that Ralph Nader thing. Now, back in 2000, whenever you were still a Democrat, how did you feel about the impact of it now that you're green nowadays about the Nader incident in 2000?
oh, I think I was really not very involved in politics until 2016. You know, maybe I was getting more involved because leading up to 2016, I was becoming more active on social media, really Twitter. And so I began to read all these things that I really wasn't paying attention to before because they're not in the mainstream media. So I don't think I was paying much attention to it at the time,
But you were
sadly,
still
like
voting
many
Democrat back
voters.
then.
Yes, I was still voting Democrat.
Did
I
you
don't even remember if I voted in that election, to tell you the truth,
did you
because
ever take a look at those third parties back then and figure out if they were you? Because I know you mentioned that you had really gotten involved after Sanders got screwed in 2016, but did you ever take a look at this and like, hey, maybe Ralph Nader is actually speaking some good things, or were you just not in that and just completely stuck in the duopoly back then?
no, because back, you see, in the 90s, I was just trying to get established. I was newly minted lawyer, and in 2000, I was in Indonesia. So I just might not have been paying attention at the time because I was trying to work and pay off my student loans and all those things.
Yeah, you definitely had a lot on your plate then. So another thing I wanted to ask was about your Senate race, and there's not a whole ton of info about your Senate race on there. A lot of people didn't even know that you were running just because of how small it is. What were your main key issues for Senate for 2022 that you were really running on trying to hammer home?
Okay. I think we have to pick something that has broad appeal. And I think the issue with the broadest appeal is Medicare for all. And so that's what I think we should lean heavily into because it has appeal even across Republicans and Democrats, and there's nobody who's pushing for it. So it's wide open for us to say we're the Medicare for All party. And I think that would get the most response. Now, in addition, I was against fracking, which I posed as being a benefit to the economy. It would increase jobs. The Republicans are still using old arguments from the 60s saying, oh, the renewable energy isn't enough to take care of all of our energy needs. Technology has changed. Now it is. And it's cheaper now. And
Mhm.
that's why the whole world is switching because renewable energy is actually cheaper than fossil fuels. And then um, third was legalization of marijuana, which is a popular issue among younger people. And I threw in a fourth. I was um, anti-war. I wanted to negotiate peace in Ukraine because that was a new issue. Um, but explaining that renewable energy is really good for the economy. A lot of people that takes too much explaining. I think really that we should focus on the Medicare for all because I think people have a greater understanding. They also have a greater need because so many people don't have insurance and are experiencing medical debt and are seeing that the insurance that is provided today is not really covering what they need. So I would lean heavily into the Medicare for all, I think.
Appreciate your input on that. And that's always one thing I wonder is why people tend to not kind of take the third parties into account because Medicare for All is pretty popular amongst if you're conservative, liberal, etc., whatever you might be. Is it's surprisingly able to flow between those ideologies, which I really appreciate, but people will just disregard it. And then there's people who are completely against it because they think it's the scary socialism. You know, in this country, we're scared of the S word. You say the S word, everyone's alarm bells start going off. Oh my God, we're back in the USSR, whatever. It's people get so
Yeah, I
scared by
tried.
the mentioning of socialism.
Yeah, I sent you a email or a message before. I try to avoid the term socialism and capitalism because they mean different things to different people.
Hmm.
To some people, socialism is all evil and no good, and to other people, capitalism is all evil and good, and then you can't get anyone to talk to each other. So I just say that I'm social rather than socialist. And to be fair, if you take the political quiz on the political compass, I'll
Hmm.
come out as social democrat uh, rather than socialist. And I would say I agree very much with the policies of Bernie and Jill Stein. Um, but rather than saying anti-capitalist, I would just say anti-exploitation and for foreign policy anti-imperialism. Um, so I try to um, avoid the trigger words. And socialism and capitalism have become trigger words that set people against each other. So I try to avoid them.
Absolutely, and especially in the media, we're told that in 2020, as you probably remember, there were all these things that the Republicans were saying of how Biden's a Marxist, communist, socialist, anarchist, all using all those left wing trigger words towards him, and which mean absolutely nothing.
Yes.
Like, man, I wish Biden was a Marxist. I wish he was a socialist. I wish he was all these things you were calling him. But all it is they've been programmed by watching too much Fox News by saying this is what socialism is. Socialism is whenever they starve your children. Socialism is when they do all this stuff to whatever. And they were able to just run on the idea that Biden's a socialist. He's a radical left socialist. He's part of the radical left. And turn people against that. And that's why we have people who say, like, I'm a patriot. I hate socialism. I love America. But you ask them what socialism is, they couldn't tell you what it means whatsoever. They don't know what they hate.
You talk to different people, they have different ideas of what it means, even among socialists. Um, everyone likes Social Security. Everyone likes the current Medicare. I say ask the people who are on Medicare now, would you like it to be revoked? And they'll all say no, they like it, they want to keep it. So I think we should expand it.
Yeah, and
But
while having
many people
Medicare.
can't get insurance.
Yeah, that's another big thing too, is that lack of insurance, having insurance tied to employment in a country like this is just really like debilitating all these people. And I'm not necessarily a proponent of Medicare for all. I more so believe in a universal healthcare system. So Medicare for all is kind of like what I think of more of like an incremental step. Like it's affordable, you still are paying a little bit into it, but a fully publicly funded, taxpayer funded, government run universal healthcare system like they have in East or Central and Western European countries are the ones to go, in my opinion. Medicare for all, while it would be a step in the right
Okay.
direction, it just feels way too much like you're paying for Medicare Part A, Part B, Part C, whatever. It's not fully coming from your taxes, and it's not for everyone and covers everything.
Yes, well, if you look at the bill, it's already been drafted by Bernie. That's one of the reasons I focus on it is because we already have a bill drafted. It might not be perfect in your opinion, but it's something that we can start with, and it would be very easy to just say, let's call a vote. Let's just vote on it now. And if we got that passed, we can work on improving it from there. But Bernie's version already is going to be less expensive for it's going to make healthcare less expensive for people than the current Medicare. And the goal is to have not just the current Medicare, but an improved Medicare that covers everything and also has no premium. Now they talk about no copays. I don't mind a small copay like $20, um, and then no deductible. So basically, if you're sick, you get care. That sounds like what you're talking about. Now, you mentioned healthcare system. Really, Medicare is not a healthcare system. Medicare is a health insurance system. So that's really two different issues. Should there be a government-run healthcare system, meaning government-run hospitals? I've had this discussion with Howie. He would like to have a system that's like the NHS in England, which is government-owned and government-run. Um, and I suspect they must have private hospitals somehow how over there. But the majority of people are going to use the government system. Here, I think we can come up with something uniquely American, something new and different, and hopefully better. We already have a large number of privately run hospitals, but we also have a government run system, the VA system. So, what I would propose is to expand the VA system so that anyone, not just veterans, could go to the VA hospitals and have more VA hospitals in underserved areas so that we could have a combined system of private and government run hospitals.
Yeah, I appreciate your
But
input there.
when you're just talking about Medicare, it's really just what is the version of health insurance. And the goal, the wish, the ideal down the road is uh, no premium, no copay, no deductible. You're sick, you just go to the hospital, it'll get paid for, and you just get the care that you need. Um, and covered drugs. That's another thing because it's difficult now. Like you said, you have all these different parts to Medicare we have to buy into to get drug coverage, but also eyes and teeth, and we want everything covered. Um, Now, it might be difficult to get all of that right from the first step, but what we can do is move in that direction. So, uh, Bernie was making a simple proposal to just lower the age of Medicare to 55, and I think that's a very reasonable small step. And even that was hard to get, but that's one way we could start is lowering the age of current Medicare, make it so that it'll keep lowering the age until it covers anybody can get it, and then we have to start lowering the cost, the price, and make expanding the coverage. Um, And the question I get asked is, how do they pay for it? And that is the crux of the issue. That's what makes people, it turns people off, is that Bernie proposes a 4% income tax. And I say, if you're paying, 500 or $1,000 a month for premiums, and then you have a $10,000 deductible before the insurance company even will look at whether they'll cover you, you know, it's very expensive, and it would actually be cheaper if it were included in the income tax. And these European countries that have um, the universal health care, they may have higher taxes, but they get things for it. They get their health care, they get their education, their college, they get good public transportations, all kinds of good services that we pay lots of taxes and we don't necessarily get anything for it.
We get
That's the
war.
problem.
That's what we get.
Yes, it
And that's
all ends up going to war.
And that's yeah, a lot of ours goes to we're seeing a lot of cop cities and a lot to the military, and it's even a simple reduction in the military budget could help. And as you said as well with the income tax, people would rather pay $1,200 a month for health insurance that might not even cover you with the huge deductible. They'd rather pay
Yes.
that than $600 a month in taxes extra, not have to pay that,
Hmm.
and have everything covered just because it's
Yes,
scary socialism.
and and it would cost less than what we're paying right now. We're paying um, twice as much per person as other countries are paying for their universal health care, and we're not covering everyone.
It's
It
for
would actually be cheaper.
For-route healthcare is insanely expensive in this country, and we're just not willing to tackle the problem, and there's not a whole lot that can truly be done at these
We
local levels.
we have a middleman. We have the insurance company, and we have to pay the insurance company profits, and it's like we could cut that out, so we don't have to pay the middleman. Um, but the insurance companies are very profitable right now, and they have a lot of money to spend on convincing people that you need them.
Yes, insurance is the biggest scam that's ever been invented, and it's been like I don't know how
It's
we've allowed ourselves to fall in this trap. There's nothing that we can do as
it's a
private
real
citizens.
insurance is a real thing, but it's way overpriced in this country. Insurance is pretty cut and dry on how it's done. It's not it's not something that you need huge innovation or lots of research. Um, so really, the government can perform the functions of insurance, and they already have the collection arm of the IRS. So that this would save, this would be what they call synergies. It would remove a lot of the costs of having a separate insurance industry. But I think there's other ways to pay for it. So everyone's very upset about the idea of more taxes because we're used to the idea of not getting anything for our taxes. So it just feels like robbery. we just don't, we just lose our money and we don't get any for it. And so a lot of people are turned off. But another proposal is a tax on Wall Street. So Bernie also suggested a tax on Wall Street, but I would make it broader than what he was proposing. I would tax all kinds of financial transactions, but very small amount because we're talking so many trillions of dollars that even a small percentage is actually a lot of money. Um, so if the buyer and the seller were paying only a 0.5% each, that would pay, I think, for Medicare for all, but it would cover all kinds of financial transactions. And the people who would be paying it are the most wealthy people, the people who are can most afford to pay it. I think it's more fair.
Would be, and that's why that wealth tax would be super important to have. I mean, if you have 0.5% on a $12 million transaction, what's that going to hurt these people? You have those people that are
I don't
paying
think they'll even notice it. Yes.
You have these people, and then you have people who are living on minimum wage, living out of their car, who desperately need to get some sort of treatment from the hospital, and they're screwed because The rich are just getting richer, poor just keep getting poorer, and there's no good way to go about it with the complete reformation of the system.
That is the natural tendency. It's kind of like, uh, who's the author of Great Expectations?
Not sure.
The late 1800s England, everything devolved into impoverishing people and enriching just a few, which is the natural tendency if there's no brakes, there's no controls on the system. Um, we do have antitrust laws, but I don't think they're being properly used because we have a very high concentration of market power. There's only like five companies that control 90% of all media. That really needs to be broken up and to have local ownership. There's a high concentration in the pharmaceutical industry. It's really in all industries, but there was an article a while ago I used to cite in The Economist about the pharmaceutical industry. They said the profits are too high. We don't understand how they could be. It's not economic anymore when they get to be too high. And what that means is we're not using the brakes and controls that we should be to break up the large industries and make them into smaller companies. And it would be benefit the economy. So when you have this concentration of, you know, small number, monopoly power, we call it, but or just even if it's more than one, but a small number colluding, it's actually uneconomic and it's ruining the economy, and that's what's happening right now. We're returning to those conditions. We're repealing the child labor laws. We're seeing more kids now getting uh, killed in unsafe jobs, and it's like we're going back to the 1800s or something.
Yeah, we are. And as you mentioned, we're seeing a lot of that. And those pharmaceutical companies. I just watched a documentary very recently about the company Insys. I'm not sure how familiar you are with this. It was a fentanyl
Sure.
company, and they made under the tongue spray fentanyl, and it was
Hmm.
made by a guy named John Kapoor, who was, I believe he's getting out of prison like any moment now, because he was found all the way back in 2019, that there have been many
Hmm.
victims, including an Arizona judge that was a victim of incest because they had they had lobbied Congress for a lot. They had to, have a little regulation, have a little whatever towards it. They would make rap videos, including the tongue spray in it, and they had all these amounts from every 200 milligrams, from 200 to 1600. 200 was a normal prescription amount, but they didn't make a whole lot of money off that. And another thing they had to consider is their sales reps. They would pay their sales reps a commission, which is about $1 for every milligram. So if you're selling something that was 200 milligrams, that sales rep is getting about $220 of commission. So of course they're not going to try to
Hmm.
get that because that's only $200 for one sale. I could have went way more. So Insys sale reps ended up prescribing a lot of people with the 1600 milligrams of fentanyl, which led to a lot of
Hmm.
deaths. But they were reaping $1,700 per sale. If you can prescribe four of those a day or four of those a week, even if you're prescribing four of those a month, that is an insane amount of money that you're making just from that alone. And there were also jobs of them to drive around to different doctors' offices and like try to convince them, hey, we'll bribe you with this nice trip, or we'll bribe you with money or whatever to get you to prescribe this. And that's just another big failure of capitalism in this nation is allowing these lobbying to exist, money staying in government for this little regulation, and it's causing the opioid epidemic is a lot to do with capitalism and just how we handle everything in this country, our desire for profits over people.
Yes, they they have made some new regulations, not recently, but they have changed the older practices with the drug reps. They used to be able to directly give all sorts of gifts and trips and things to doctors. Um, but they have found ways around the regulation. Like instead of just giving a trip to the doctor, what they have is they hold a conference of some kind, supposed to have educational purposes. And then the doctor's invited to speak at the conference. And the only way you get on the speaker list is if you're a high prescriber. And then basically you just go and have a vacation and you have a chit chat at dinner and they call that speaking. That's what you did. That was your speaking. And so they are getting around the regulation. I think the drug reps, yes, they shouldn't be on commission, really. I understand the idea of sales applies, for shoes like that, but I don't think it should apply that way for drugs, especially drugs that are narcotics. Um, there is in Pennsylvania, we're trying to get past a gift ban for Pennsylvania um, legislators. It should be an easy issue, but it's really difficult. They're really resisting it. So it's even worse in Pennsylvania. You can give gifts to the legislators directly. Um, the the federal government, we have the legislators are investing in the industries that they're legislating. We shouldn't have that. We have to get money out of politics altogether. There has to be money out of the political races. We should have government funded political races. We shouldn't have corporate donors. We can't have the Citizens United and all the related type problems. Um, Corporations are not people. We Right now we have too much dark money. We don't know where it's coming from going into campaigns, and we have foreign influence like APAC. So how are other candidates going to oppose that if the ones who are being supported by the elites or the 1% who are being benefited have millions to campaign on? I don't know. We have to find a way to get money out of politics.
And that's why that gift ban has been. And anyways, watching, go check it out, giftban.org. Check out the website of what's the action going on. And the ironic thing is, you are asking people who are benefiting from these gifts to vote against them. It's like if you were to have a Senate vote for the Senate to
Hmm.
cut their pay, is a single person going to vote to cut their pay? No, no one's going to
That
do that.
it's That's the difficulty, yes, and I always have to smile when I see the Congress votes an increase in pay to themselves. It's like, well, that would be nice. Why can't we all vote for an increase in pay for ourselves? Um, I think the way to do it is we have to bring a referendum. So you have a vote of the people directly rather than through the representatives, because the representatives are benefiting from the corrupt system, even if it's legal corruption. That's not something that they can be put in jail for. It's still a corruption that should be banned.
And that's the problem is you have people you're voting, you're asking people to vote for something that's going to completely not benefit them. I mean, if you're running for governor, let's say, and you get a nice $25,000 cash gift from, let's say, an oil company, or is someone really going to say, actually, I'm going to vote to get rid of that? No, you're going to vote for it's natural greed. You're going to vote for something that's going to make your wealth stack
Well,
up,
it's
make everything better.
benefiting you, yes.
That's why I'm not confident in it passing whatsoever. I would love for it to pass, and if you were to give a completely direct democracy for citizens to vote on issues like we saw in Kansas and Ohio to just like check yes, yes, no, whatever you're voting for. If we gave citizens that opportunity in the state, which I would love to see come May, but it's probably not going to happen. Very, very little chance of that. I would love to just see what citizens would vote on for that. And I'm sure overwhelmingly people would be like, yeah, regardless of how I stand, get money out of politics, get rid of that gift ban, or get the gift ban started in the state of Pennsylvania.
This would be a good time to mention that the Green Party does not accept corporate donations. We represent the people rather than the corporations. That's why it's important that we have ordinary people make small donations. If you go to the website for the Pennsylvania Green Party, it's GPOFPA. It stands for gpofpa.org/donate. They'll accept as little as $3. And then there's an option for a recurring donation monthly. If anyone could make a donation of $3 or $5 or whatever they can afford, that is what would fund us to be able to have real campaigns to get people elected.
And it's especially important to get to that, try to get that 5. And I'm not sure how it works on the state level for funding wise, because obviously we know if you get that 5% in the federal wise, you get that federal funding. But how does it work state wise to get? Is there any sort of state funding or federal funding if you get to a certain amount for those smaller parties?
Not that I know of. Maybe there is, but I don't know. Yes, we will, of course, would like to get Jill Stein up to the 5%, and I think this is really the best chance ever so far to get that, and then to get the federal matching funds and to really bring knowledge of the Green Party to,
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I think that's
and then
gonna. Uh,
and then we can
let's see.
get the local. So everyone should, we hope, would become involved locally. So you join your local Green Party in your county and run for office. There's a school board, there's county council, there's local township councils. Um, and it really requires ordinary people to get involved for this to work. And we'll get more Greens in office at the very local level, and then we'll get higher levels.
Yeah, just check out a seat. Maybe someone who might want to run for school board, get a green on there, run. Even if you don't have a big campaign, you might be able to run unopposed. There's a lot of those positions that are just unopposed. It might be like vote for and
Sometimes,
only two run. So you can just solidify yourself in
yes.
there just for being there. You might have to make
I
up a
think
payment, but that's
I
it.
think just having a green on the ballot, it brings awareness to people. Everyone who's a voter and votes will come in and see, oh, there's a green on the ballot.
Hmm.
And that will raise awareness of the Green Party.
Absolutely. So I think that's a good time to end it. I
Mhm.
appreciate your time
Okay,
on here.
sure.
Is there anything you wanted to end out
Okay.
with?
Well, really, the asking for the donations. That was it. I hope you can, I don't know if you can write it out, gpfpa.org/donate. And that's how we'll get more greens on the ballot. And we'll use it for pushing for the gift ban too.
Absolutely. And then anyone who's watching who's not in PA, check out your local Green Party. They probably have a chapter and you can donate $3. And any of that would seriously help if you are passionate about uh, where we're at.
Hmm. Definitely.
So thanks for talking. Really great getting to talk with you for the past almost hour about all our
Yeah.
sort of politics. And we'll see you back for episode 10.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for having me.